As you're finishing up your pieces, there's a few things to look for to make sure they print well and work well as a chess piece. So the first thing is the base of your chess piece. If you look at this one right here for this king, the base of it is really close to the size of the top of it, and it might topple over if you're handling it. I'll see a lot of students use just a cylinder going straight down, and it's really skinny at the bottom or just as wide at the top. It might fall over. So this base right now is 20 by 20. Some of the standard pieces are more like 25 by 25, so I'm going to stretch this out. And then realign everything. So much wider base. It's going to be a lot stronger. Next thing I see a lot is pieces aren't actually touching. So if you look at the cube here, this is important to make sure all the pieces here are touching. You can hit left, front, right. Keep your eye on that king piece as we're spinning it around, and you'll see right here, it's not really touching. Let me zoom in. There's actually a gap in between here, and it's really easy to see when it's on this orthographic view. So most of you might be in this view right here. This is like the standard view. Now watch as you spin it, you can't actually see that it's not touching. That's why it's really important to hit this button one time to a flattened orthographic view. And now as I spin it, I see that this is definitely not touching. So I'm going to take this piece here, control, down arrow, make sure it touches well. You don't want it to barely touch. You want to have a good, strong connection between the two of them. Speaking of connections, look at this pawn here. The ball that's on top is barely touching that. If this prints, that ball, the slightest little touch of that is going to knock it off because it's barely touching this here. So if you have something like this, it makes sense to ungroup it, ungroup again, click on the sphere, control down. That's going to be a way stronger connection. When that prints, that ball is not going to fall off now. Another thing to look out for on the base is pieces like the knight, where it's a little bit of a different piece, and you'll see that the snout of this knight piece is coming out past the base of it. Now, will this stand up? Probably it'll stand, but some pieces have like a little bit more hanging off, and it might not stand up when you go to play chess. So make the base just as wide as the piece to be safe. So I'll click on this base and stretch it out a little further this way. So it's coming out just under the nose. It's going to be a lot more stable like this. The bottom of it is now an oval. Doesn't bother me too much as long as it's stable. It's going to be a better piece to handle and play chess with. Another thing to look out for is making sure all your pieces are actually on this work plane. If you look really, really closely right down here, you can actually see there's a little bit of a shadow there telling you this is not on the work plane. It's easier to see if you hit the side view and make sure it's on orthographic perspective. And now you can clearly see this is just 1 millimeter off of the ground. So you can hit control down, or better yet, hit this cone and type in 0, and it will go right to the work plane. Another thing to look out for is making sure everything is properly aligned. As I look at pieces being finished, if you spin and rotate them, you can see that this is not it has not been aligned and stacked up. It's really easy to fix this. Just select your whole piece, ungroup it twice or 3 times if you have to. Select everything, align, bottom center left, bottom center right. Now it's all stacked up perfectly. Another thing to look out for is pieces that are just too thin and delicate. Even if this prints out correctly, if you touch it or bump it one time, that's going to fall off. It's not very sturdy. So something like this, I would ungroup it and make it thicker. Reconnect everything, align it first, group it. That's much stronger now. So those things, making sure things are strong and sturdy, make sure they're connected together, make sure the base is big enough, make sure shapes are actually touching, make sure things are stacked and aligned and centered, and make sure they're touching the work plane. After you're finished all that, you can start to duplicate these and get them ready to send to me to print.